Yes, sir. Your voice went. Sir, your voice went.
Oh, sorry, it became mute.
Yeah.
My God, sorry.
Yeah.
So I can start the game and see how how the 4 disk moves. So I can explain number of times, but graphically you can see what is being done. And that essentially, and this program is sent to others, work it out, and you see how we can do workout graphically, because it tells you clearly how things are working. So same way,
Hello.
yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Abhiram joined here to confusion. That's okay. So let's look at essentially what we are looking at. We are looking at primarily a 2D plot. 2D meaning 2 dimension. So let's say we have x and we have a x-axis and we have a y-axis, and we are looking at 2D dimension plus we'll have some dots, dot here, dot here, dot here, dot here, line or something of that kind. So we are looking at 2D means my matplotlib library does support 3D plots as well, but I'm not going to discuss that. We are looking at basics of Python. But those interested, you can go through matplotlib documentation, the examples there, how to see visually even 3 dimensions. More interesting, but first let's understand how does a 2-dimensional plot work. So, and again, as I said, this 2D plot, my Python library supports my line charts, bar charts, pie chart, scatter plots, and whatever we look at differently. Essentially, we look at only what is called a matplotlib, the library available. You need to install it. Depending on Windows, you can install, go to place, and once you install it, all you need to do is import the library. Matplotlib has something contains pyplot, which is basically graph plotting library. Matplotlib has a lot of other things. For 3D, it may be others. And for this, either we can call every time matplotlib.pyplot, but I can shorten it, say PLT, so that when I invoke, like I can say, when I say import random, then I want to get a random number. I always say random dot rand int, and then so I want to cut short this. So I can simply say import random as, let's say, rd. Then I can just use rd dot, and that should work. Same way, so we are saying import matplotlib, pyplot is plt. So we'll always refer to plt dot something, and plt dot will give me all the methods, libraries, things available in this graph. And primary function in this plot library is what is called plot. Plot is a function that will depend upon. We'll pass on the argument to this function, and this will do plot a library. So let's look at a simple example. Assuming I want to draw a line curve, simple line y is equal to 2x plus 1. So typically, how do you draw? Let's say you have an x-axis, you have a y-axis. Let's say x point, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just take 2. And same way I can say y1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if my x is 0, if x is 0, y is 1. If x is 1, y is 3. If x is 2, y is 5. So I want to, this equation which you are looking at, y is equal to 2x plus 1, I can define the point, and this basically gives me the line. This is what we are looking at. So can we draw this curve, this line, in a pyplot library? And so what it means to involve to draw this line. And that is what we are basically looking at. So essentially, let's look at the values of x. So we take 6 values of x, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correspondingly, values of y would be if x is 0, y is 1, if x is 1, y is 3, if x is 2, y is 5, we get the y value. So to my plot function, when I call plot function, I should specify what are my x values and what are my y values. And they has to be 1 to 1. If my x is having 6 values, my y should also 6 values. So always specify your values in terms of a list, like list. And then options of plotting a graph, something, do you want a dotted graph, solid graph, do you want different color? We look at those options. So primarily, you define what are the x values in a list and same number of respectively y values in the list. And then all you need to do is simple plotting would be, first I say import matplotlib as plt, then I define x1 is equal to I for, remember, this is what we call this expressive form of for loop. Do anyone remember what this means? What does it give me? I for I in range 6. Abhiram?
Sir, it'll give you the sixth one, right?
No. See, range
X,
is,
X.
when I say range, range is a
So it
value
from,
gives
oh
me
yeah, yeah.
0, 1,
From 0 to
2, 3, 5.
1, 2, 3. From
5,
0 to.
not 6. So I'm saying for I in range 6 means I take this 6 value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And saying list is whatever I is. So x gives me value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So either I could say that x is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or I can write this. Assuming I need to put 100 such values. You cannot keep writing like this. I can say range 100 and I'll get 100 values. So this is simple form of, or expressive form of writing, creating a list using this. And this is the beauty in Python, this becomes much easier compared to any other language. Same way, what should my y value be? Look, what is my y value? 2 star x plus 1. So I can say my y val is equal to 2 star I plus 1 for I in range 6. This will give me all these y values. Are we okay? Anuj?
Yes, sir.
Clear? So we define this. We define y values. We get this. And now, so I have now my x values. I have my y values. I simply plot a graph. This is actually not required. This is required subplotting. We'll talk about it to next lecture. But right now you can ignore this. This is not needed for the time being. We just say plot my x values and y values. When you do a plot, it actually creates a map within the memory, but does not show up. To show visually in an actual screen, you need to say plt.show. And once you do that, program would simply work. And that's what all is needed. When you show that, my graph looks like this. You see the x values below here, and you see y values there. If I were to change to different values, you see that many values coming up. Just to give you, let's say, I simply create this program temporarily, or I might have a program here as well. Let's say, no, I don't seem to have. Okay, so let me plot.py. So look, this is what I'm doing. Can you see my screen, my program? And as I said, I don't need this. Simplest program. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. So let me save this and then I run this program. Oh. Python plot See, the program came up. Okay, you see the graph. If I were to change the values, let's say instead of 6, I make it, let's say 20. You basically see that many values in the graph. Let me run it. You see values of x, values of y. It automatically assigns the respective values. Simplest program. We look at if you want to control what value should appear here, what value should appear here, we can do that. But right now, if you don't specify, it automatically compute and displays the value. And that's all is, sorry. So we saw the graph. Now let's look at typically how does a graph really look like. So if we look at a graph, it has a lot of things. You want to specify in the y-axis what are the major ticks, what are the major points, like major lines, like this. These are the major lines. And what are the minor points? So this is called major tick and minor tick. You also want to specify what is the y side label. So this is y side label. Similarly, you want to show on the x-axis side, this is your major tick and these are your minor ticks. You can specify those. You specify, do you want what kind of graph, like to see circles, or would you like to see X's or plus or a star or a dot or dash dash? Do you want to see the points? Do you want to join the points? Do you want to see whatever label you want to do that? And if you have multiple curves, what the lesions are, and what the title of a graph. So these are a lot of things. We will look at only a few things, and you want to even talk about so-called this, spines or the grids. A lot of options are available, but I'm not going to get into those details. I'll basically talk basics part of it. And those you want to detail, go to the documentation, matplotlib.org. You get a lot of details there. It's interesting. So let me show what you want to do. Let's say I want to write a generic equation where M, C, and C and T as command line arguments. So I would say for how many points I want to plot, that's my input. And I say I for I in range, and then my y value would be M star I plus C. These are my y values. And then I basically plot a graph. Now I want to put a label. So if you go back previously, so previously my graph was I simply put points. Now I want to say label, meaning what is my graph is present. I want to say what is the x-axis indicates, what is my y-axis indicates, what is my x-axis indicates. So I give them what is my x label. I also indicate what is my y label, what is my graph legend basically, and my title of a graph. I'll basically do this for three things and then plot. So I'm plotting, and then I say my x label is x values. What you see here, label, this will come as part of a legend when you see the graph coming up. Y label is y values, and you want to say title. So title is graph for this equation y is equal to, I'm converting mx plus c. So if you see a graph, that's what we'll basically get. And to see all those values, the x labels, y labels, you need to say plot.legend. It will put the name, because plot only does plotting of points. And then it will simply plot, and so means it will display. So let's say if I can draw this graph, I hope I should have. I have only one, so okay, let me just then do that anyway here. So I would say import sys, and then I would basically say M is the first argument, int, or actually it could be float. Y should be int. It could be anything. Float sys.argv1. Then C is a constant, which another float, sys.argv2, and number of points is this should be int, sys.argv3, and then
Sir, isn't
yeah,
ARGV part of C?
it derives from there. That's why it comes from there. That's why we call it ARG vectors. ARGC,
Oh, okay.
ARG. That's why the things come from there. Call ARG vector.
So we can use them in Python as well.
So no, syntax is different, but you can use that. Okay.
Oh,
The command line arguments. Does that answer your question?
yeah.
Okay. So my number of points is CNT, which has to be integer. My for equation for y is equal to mx plus c, my m need not be integer, my c need not be integer, but number point to draw, and then I will come here basically say x12 is I in range c and t, y should be m star I plus c for I in range c and t, and I'm doing a plot. Then I should say plt dot x label is equal to x values, plt dot y label, I'll say y values, and then I would say plt dot title, what I want to say, graph for equation y is equal to mx plus c, and you want to put in the legend, so here I can also say label is equal to whatever my graph, linear graph. And to show these values x label, y label, z label, I also need to say plt.legend, then only show those. So I have my program ready. So let me now run this program. Sorry, I had previous program didn't exit it, so now I exited. So I say first argument, let's say 0.5, c is equal to 2. Let's say I want to do 20 points. Let's see how this happens. So you can see this is what is happening. For x10, it goes up to there, it draws 10 points, it's drawing a simple line. But we are not seeing what the actual points are because you're joining all the points. So if I want to show individual points, then I need to give more options to my graph. So essentially what I need to do is, I think I have a slide covered next. Let me go to the next and I'll talk about it. Now I want to basically do my differentiation. So I want to see all those points, which points I have drawn. And so there are options I'll talk about. Let me show you, and then I talk about these different options there. So you can specify the ranges of x-axis. You can say low x to high x, low y to high y. It defines the ranges. And actual syntax is this. And you give an option called color, marker, and line. What color you want to draw. And so like we said, the different colors, B stands for blue, red, first letter is indicates B, R, the different options, B for blue, K for black, R for red, and the points. Do you want to see the points? Then say O, O is a circle. If I say S is a square, or I would say plus is a red pluses. So let's look to our program and we want to show the circles as well. So my program, I would say here, BO. I just want to see points, blue points with a circle. That's what I'll do. So if I run it, you will not see a line, you'll only see a point. You only see a points, all the 10 points. But if I want to see line as well as the points, then I'll go there. So remember, first letter is color, second is for points O, and third is what kind of line I want. By default, solid line. Single dash means solid line. Two dashes mean dash line. So this will give me two dashes and the points with a circle. This is what it will give me. So let's look at this. So you have a dashes, solid. I want to put a red. I want to put, let's say, dots. I can change that. Let's say R. And I want to put, let's say, squared. I want to put a star. So put a star here. And I want to put dots, dotted lines, not the dashes lines. So this will give me points as red star and dotted points. So if I run, some mistake, maybe I have made a mistake. I'll look at the documentation. So let me put, let's say, R is, let's say, diamond, thin diamond. That should work. Two marker symbols, so I think I'm making a mistake there. Let me go back to next one. It will give me the styles R dash, and these are the markers. Oh, so those has to come later. Okay, which is they can come in any order. That will still be fine. So point marker dash dot okay. So what I should do is just give me a minute. I'll come to the slides. Red, and I want to see. Okay, first is the marker has to come, and a dotted line does it really matter? Dotted line, and let's say my triangle marker. I haven't tried too many things, so maybe I'm making some mistake there. Yeah. So you can see I made a triangle marker with dotted line. This is the program basically saying. So three options: color, your what kind of line style, or you can even change the order. Even that should also be fine. Even this should work. Yeah. So order doesn't really matter. And see what the label has given you. If we look at, I given label a linear graph. That is where you see my linear graph. I given a title graph or equation, and this is my title, and you see my x values and you see y values, and then what you see x values here and you see y values there, and that is how I basically. Let me save this program. I'll send you the program after the lecture. So if we look at, these are the different choices of my lines. So these are the colors available to me. Please note black is K because B is already taken for blue. These colors are available. Solid line, dashed line, dash dot line, dotted line, and what kind of markers for the points. Dot, comma, O is for circle, V is for a triangle, down. We can look at all those. Thin diamond, big diamond, you can look at all those, and that should be fine. So star is actually a marker. The star and dot cannot be combined. That was a mistake. These are the only 4 line styles, and I was combining a star with a dot. That was the problem. If I say star with a dash or a star with a double dash, that should work fine. And that is what basically. So you don't have to mug up. Look at the documentation. I just copied from the documentation of matplotlib. So color, we don't specify. I think by default it is blue. Line style, by default it is solid, and by default there are no point markers. It only goes a line. So marker, there are no defaults, but for this, by default, it will get blue and the solid line. This is what you will get. So let's look at few more examples. BO, B means blue, O is circle, dash means dash line. If you want to see dotted, instead of dashes, you see colon, you'll get that scenario. So let's look at some more graphs. If you want to plot multi-line graphs, in a single graph, I want to put multiple lines. Let's say, I'll give the example there. I want to plot I square, and I cube. That means, if I look at my graph, let's say, so straight line would be like this, I square would be like this, I cube would be something like this. You know, y is equal to x. This is y is equal to x square. This is y is equal to x cube. This is what you are looking at, and we can plot this graph. In our case, I'm not taking the negative value, but you can take negative value as well. And with negative value, you'll see graph coming both ways. We will do that as well, and we'll see that kind of scenario by taking negative value. So what we are doing here is, so I'm defining y1 for linear, y2 for square, y3 for I cube, and then see how does my graph plotting would look like. Then I would say plot. I say first line xy1, then xy2 second curve, or I can do separately as well. Rather than writing single, I can also say plt.plot x comma y1 comma b dash. Then I can say plt.plot x comma y2 comma r dash dash. plt.plot x comma y3 comma gs means green and solid. You'll see green and solid symbol. This is what it means. So either you can do in a single if you know, or you can do separately, and then basically so. So this will show you a graph with linear, square. So let me see if I can show you that. I think this I have got. Look what I've done. Tan y1 is linear, y2 is square, y3 is this, and I'm plotting these three graphs. So let me run this graph. You see three graphs, and what we have done, if we look at our programs, my y1 was linear, is a blue star. So you see blue line with a star. These are the values of x. Then I'd say x is equal to y2. Y2 is square, red circle. You see red circle. And we said cube is green and S is for square, dash and dot. You see green, dash and dot. If you want to draw from negative, I can probably change it to, let's say, x and I in range from minus CNT, starting minus CNT to CNT with a step of 1. And same thing I need to do here. Now this should give me negative and positive value as well. So y would be all positive, but x and y1 would give me negative as well. Can you guys see my screen? It is working.
Sir. Yes, sir.
So okay, let me remove it. That should be fine. So let me run it and see. I don't will give me error. It should work. You can see that. So you see, blue is what happened. All zero. That shouldn't be the case. I thought I should get a linear graph, but we need to see what could mistake I'm making. This is my see. It is so this much that I'm basically getting very high values, and that is what is happening. So I think let me change the values so that we can see little better results. So instead of 10, let me make it 4 so that at least get some more sensible values. Now you see you are getting from -4 to something and square is going. And this is x cube. Are you getting me now? Any questions about this?
Sir, could you just show the program, please?
Yeah. I'll send you the program as well. This is the program. Can you see the program?
Yes, I can see. Thank you.
Oh, going away, so let me draw this.
Sir, what is the meaning of minus CNT, CNT, 1? What is 1 mean?
1 means steps of 1. Starting from -4 to -3, -2, -1, 0 up to 4.
Okay.
With the step of 1. So the steps of.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any other question? Is the graph clear? Sorry. I think my screen is going away. So let me go to my slides. So let me first kill this, remove this part. So this is how you can do a multi-line plot graph. Now, let's say trigonometric curves. I want to draw a curve of sine theta. Abraham keep asking me how difficult to draw sine theta. I said it's a 4-line program. Those look very difficult. We all know that sine theta looks like something like this. This is what we know. How do we draw it? If I were to draw only 4 points, let's say point 1 here, which is 0, pi by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2, and 2 pi, if I draw a graph, it will look like this triangle. And I don't want that. So for smoothness, remember a circle is a polygon with finite sides. So I need to draw a lot of small points because the way the graph would work, it will work join the number of points, solid line. So if the points are too far away, you see like this. So I need to define a lot more points so that it kind of becomes a smooth curve. And that's why when you draw a sine plot, define point to be at least 50 or 100, but defining 10, 20 points, you will not see a smooth sine curve. So I say import sys, which is not required. This is a basic. Now I'm saying I'll draw 100 points. This is what I'm looking at. 100 points between 0 to 2 pi. In theta, when you do, so I need to do math library because math library supports my trigonometric functions. So I know my maximum value is 2 pi. So math.pi gives me basically pi, which is 3.14 and something. And sine curve, when I say math.sine, it expects angles in radian and not in degree. So if I were to say 180 degree, I need to input should be pi or 3.14, whatever equivalent to that. So input is always in radian and not in terms of degrees. You have to make sure that part. So my max value is 2 pi because I'm drawing from 0 to 2 pi. And then I'm saying I need to draw 100 points. So x max by CNT. So look, x max by CNT gives me gap between each point. Because that means I need 100 points. I got 100 points. So starting from 0 to 2 pi, I need to draw 100 points. So divide by that CNT, so I get this gap. And this is what I'm basically getting, this gap. And since I is going from 0 to 100, I'll keep getting points. First point, second point, third point, fourth point, all in terms of radians. This is what I'll get. Any questions about this? Because this has to be clear to you. I'm getting the value of angle for each point in terms of radians. I got my max. So this is 0 to 2 pi. I divide by 100. I get the size of each point. And the value of each point is this value multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, so forth. So these are my x values. My y value will be nothing but sine of this. So I would say y is equal to, if we look at, so first I'm drawing the baseline, so let me not bother about this. Math dot sine of the radian value for I in range, same thing. I'm doing this line so that I can draw my baseline. Otherwise, my graph would simply appear like this. And I do not know what is my baseline is. So I'm saying draw the baseline at 0. So y0 is for the baseline and y1 is for my sine curve. Having gotten the value, all I need to do is now plot xy0 black, xy1 blue dot. So sine curve will come as dot, and my horizontal line, the middle line, like this, my sine curve, and the middle part will come a solid black line. So it is black dash dash dash. So it will be black will be this, and sine curve would be blue dot like this. This is what I'll get. And then so. Any questions about this program? Now let me show you the program. Can you guys see my program? You don't need sys here, but I need math for the math function. Any questions about the program? Can you guys see my program? Aruna,
You can see.
you can see my program, no?
Yes, sir.
So let me run this. I would say Python sine theta you see this is my sine curve and this is my center line. You got a beautiful sine curve. If you define more points, it will become more smoother curve. So let's say if I have to change it, let's say change my value 200, you will get a more smooth curve. But if you make it much lesser points, let's say 50, you will see more of a broken curve. Okay, so it depends how good you want, do accordingly, and that's what you are looking at. Now, you want to draw from sine to cos theta, both sine and cos together. So you know the function, I'm going to draw from 0 to 4 pi. Now remember in my previous case, if you look at, when I go to the graph, it is saying the value 0, 1, 2, 3 is actually 2 pi because the 3 doesn't give me meaning. I want to see these values in terms of pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, so on and so forth. Is it possible to do that? Yes. And then I want to show you that we're using something called ticks. So as far as this part is concerned, you know y1 is math, y2 is cos, this is fine. Now we want to draw the values of this thing. So this is done, baseline. Now I want to specify basically this is what is called a label is. Now if you want to get a special symbol, It supports what is called LaTeX, which you don't have to be aware of. LaTeX is a language you can draw scientific symbols, but there you specify as is a string R, and any LaTeX expression you specify within the dollar. Within the dollar sign, theta would be this. You want to say pi, you say pi. So I'm giving a very basic part, don't have to worry about it. You start with R, single quote, and a special expression. Anything under inside the dollar would be taken as LaTeX expression to generate that symbol and show you that symbol. So for now, you can just assume that, but don't have to remember this. And now I'm saying theta values, and it will show me sine values, and I should be done. Now look, what I want to do is, at this curve here, I want to show my zero values. So I want to show value 0, pi, or pi by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2, 2 pi, and so on and so forth. So I will define that what is called using X ticks. Ticks meanings what are the values I want to point and what is their label. So look, I am putting only 5 values, and 5 values are 0, pi. So what is the values of I? Values of I are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So my values are 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. So my graph would say 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. These are the values, but for the points. But what their names should appear, I am showing them as this. We need to do a little practice. So first I specify a list saying what the values are and how they should be displayed. So I'm saying R, LaTeX 0, R, pi, R, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. So I'm showing X ticks. Why I don't care why are the values, and with this my graph would basically show me sine curve, cos curve. Sine curve would come with the blue line, blue dots, and cos curve would come with the green dots. And you see in the x-axis labels with 0, pi, 2 pi. This is the way you can define that. So let me try to show this graph. Same program, I'll just run it 200 points. So let me run it, Python, sine, cos. You see the value 0, pi, 2 pi, and you see that I'm getting theta here, symbol. Theta is coming from, if you look at, I'm specifying dollar theta, so it indicates theta. If it's a sigma, it will appear as sigma. There are different characters, mostly they're defined, and you can look at those. You want to say capital pi, it will be capital pi. If I say capital P, it will become capital pi. Small p means small pi. But the basic for you to remember, I'm not going to go into details, but you can see those. But I see this is my sine curve, 0 to 4 pi, and this is my cos curve. Any questions about this so far? This is the program. So it's very simple to plot any curve given the data, and this is what we want to do.
So could you just explain to me for what is the dollar sign used?
Okay, see, let me go to the graph. Look, I want to get symbol theta. There is no symbol defined in English language called theta. It's a Latin symbol, a mathematical symbol. Similarly, pi is a mathematical symbol. So how do I get these mathematical symbols in my graph? And those symbols are defined in a different language which is called LaTeX, which you don't have to remember, but you can at least know about it. It's called LaTeX for scientific notations. And the way Python understands this, anything you specify a string prefix with R, it will say the LaTeX, and any LaTeX symbol should appear within starting with dollar, ending with dollar. If you miss $1, it is a normal string. If you see any string within $2 signs prefixed by R, it will assume to be LaTeX string and different values, like, and specify theta, it will come as theta. If you say pi, it is pi. Mu, if you say mu, it will come as mu. So you can choose different symbols if you want to. So LaTeX is a language that defines different mathematical symbols, and Python understands that. I'm making use of that. How do you specify a Python program? You specify under your R specifying as that is a LaTeX string. So comma is the LaTeX, sorry, this apostrophe LaTeX string. Dollar, within the dollar, you could treat it as LaTeX and put respective mathematical symbol. That is what it is. Does that make it a bit clear? Anuj?
Yes, sir, understood. Thank you very much.
Understood? You can try different
Yes.
values. You want to see capital pi, see small pi is like this, capital pi is like this. So instead of pi, if you say capital Pi, you will see this symbol and not this small symbol.
Sir, so what all characters are there possible?
There are
Is there-
all
you have
mathematical
any chart or
characters.
something?
You search in Google LaTeX characters, you'll get maybe some 50 characters.
What's the spelling? What's the spelling?
LaTeX,
Okay, sir.
LATEX. Okay. LaTeX
Yeah.
expression for mathematical symbols, you'll find that out. I'm giving you basics part of it. But still more, I can give you the link. I can send you the link and you can look at those as well. Okay. Send me an email, I'll send you the link. I have no issue. Okay, I'll be down. Are we okay now? So I'm done for today. So do the exercises. First is you go to marks in physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology. X-axis is subjects. Y-axis is, or sorry, X-axis is class 8, class 9. So X-axis, class 8, class 9, class 10, class 11, and Y-axis is marks. So draw the percentage marks. So let's say how the curve look like. This is the exercise 1. For each class, draw the marks. Second is, we all know that sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to 1. Can we graphically show that? That basically means draw a plot for sin square theta plus cos square theta and graph should come like this, value 1. So you can prove that. Similarly, just to get experience, you all use WhatsApp for last 7 days. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. One graph for how many messages you sent and how many messages you received. Plot a graph. So count the number of messages you sent and you received and plot a graph. Simple exercises. Each one once you understand, shouldn't take you more than half an hour each. Any questions? Any questions about? If no, then I'm done for today.
No, sir.
In next lecture, we'll look at what is called multi-plot. Means so far we saw in a graph single plot. But I'll define a different Windows 1, Windows 2, Windows 3, Windows 4, and each window has one graph. So let's say I'll have my whole Windows. I'll define into a grid. So I got 6 grid, 1, 2, 3, and each one I can draw a different graph. So how to draw multi-plot graph? Let's say I want to show marks for physics, chemistry, mathematics for class 9 in this, for class 10 in this, class 11 in this, then you can do differently. So next class we'll discuss how to draw multi-plot graph, within a graph, how to draw that. And then next week we'll go to, can you plot the COVID data? That's what we basically do. Like India's graph, something of that kind. Once you draw plot line graph, so one graph you can say number of cases, number of recovered, number of casualty, or something of that kind. We'll look at those parts. We'll get actual data from webs. I'll tell you how to get the data from the website. We'll write a program for that, and then we'll draw this as well. This is what we'll do. So done for today. So again, do the exercise. How many have done my program I gave you, tic-tac-toe? Anyone tried? Looks like no one tried further.
Yes, sir.
Please try it out. You know how interesting it is. At least play the game. See how good you can make it. I give you basic web working version. So that should be fine. So if not, I'll basically stop it. and send you the recording as well after a while. So that should be fine. Let me